guy still looking for his pants?
Right, the Supreme Court was originally put in place so that if Congress signed a law that was unconstitutional, they could say, no, that this law is not legal.
Yeah, which they've done several times.
And right, but now who knows how they're going to go?
But
why? What did they do last that was questionable?
Or they don't seem to.
They go off more. I understand what Pete's saying.
They go more politically.
They
Whatever
go,
their party line that they're
Yeah,
affiliated with is what
their
they're going to
values,
go for.
not actually what
They're
the
not
law
going
is
to go
for.
and say we've spent a shit ton of years learning law and even more refining our learning on law. So we're going to purely look at the constitutional law and say, is this illegal? They don't do that anymore.
And I'm not asking particularly to pick on you. I'm asking because the majority of the time that argument is brought up, that they're legislating from the bench. The specific example that's been used, because I'm a member of the Trump support group, if anybody wants something funny.
Got a button or something I can...
No, I can send you a Facebook invite. It's freaking hilarious.
Anywho.
They're all upset because they say that gay marriage thing is legislation from the bench, but it was actually enforcing full faith and credit, which is in the Constitution. That was the issue there. And that's the example they use most. When they should be using examples of gun control legislation.
That's another one.
Which, well, not another one, that's a big one.
No, but they've had a bunch.
Right.
Where they've gone party lines instead of, I mean, I don't know. There's some things in the Constitution, I guess, well, apparently everything in the Constitution is open for interpretation. But
after
some sounded
years,
pretty, it shouldn't be after any years.
No, the thing is...
Right.
If you want it out of the Constitution, there's a legal process to get rid of it. It's called an amendment.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So if you don't like it, get everybody to vote for the amendment. You have to have, what, 2/3 of the states ratify?
Ratify.
If memory serves. And then it's out.
Well, that's part of the problem with the marriage thing, because they passed the Defense of Marriage Act, which was not a constitutional amendment. It was a congressional law,
Yeah.
which bypassed full faith and credit. Now, people aren't really considering, I don't think, on either side of the aisle, what the upholding of full faith and credit and shooting down the Defense of Marriage Act really does. First off, it does, gay marriage is legal. That's the big one. That's what challenged it. But it also means your concealed carry is just as valid as your driver's license in another state now. Because it's a state-issued license, and the court ruling was full faith and credit.
Well,
I
no,
thought there
he's
were
right.
only a
I
few-
am right.
They're not going to go with that
Do you have
because
your picture on a concealed carry?
You don't have your picture on a marriage license.
I thought there were only a
I
few
understand
states
that.
that allowed
However, your draft card.
transfer from one state to another as far as your weapon goes. Because somebody told me they got a Florida carry permit, which allows them to carry across the country. But a Wisconsin permit won't allow you to do that.
But the thing is, if they, and it'll probably have to be challenged, and it'll go all the way up to the Supreme Court. But the ruling that says marriage license, because that's why marriage is legal. It's not that they said every state has to legalize gay marriage. They said every state has to recognize a marriage certificate from every other state. So the states that did legalize gay marriage, if Wisconsin doesn't and Illinois does, you can just go to Illinois to get married, so Wisconsin might as well.
Okay.
They enforced full faith and credit. Because of that, the enforcement of that is any state licensure has to qualify in other states. So while I agree that gay marriage should be legal, personally,
Yeah.
I don't
way
think
they
that
did it.
people who approve of that, the majority of them, understand what enforcing full faith and credit actually should do. Just like I don't think people on the right who were opposed to it strictly because of the homosexuality aspect are considering the things that they should now be challenging because this should open the door for them.
right. But that's my point. Is the Supreme Court? They kind of however they're politically leaning
Well,
at the time. That's where they're voting.
Here's the thing with the Supreme Court, and that is that it just interprets the Constitution. Now, if you're a conservative judge who thinks conservatively, or as opposed to a liberal judge who thinks liberally, they can read the same sentence and see two different things.
Oh, look at the Second Amendment is a great example.
Yep.
Right, it should
Paulie
be.
will point first to the fact that the word militia is in there,
Yep.
and say that it has
To
to do
form
with,
a militia and bear arms.
well, except for there's a comma, and commas fucking mean
Right.
something.
Right.
I don't
that's-
think
that's
it was
where
in the
English-
original
Yeah, it is.
Constitution.
Yeah.
Let's just say.
I was going to say that's where the English language.
But back in the 1930s, that was interpreted differently.
Right. And that
Different
I'm just
judges.
using it as an example. Liberals see that and say, well, arms are necessary
Exactly.
for a militia.
Right. So if you form a militia, you can bear arms,
Right.
but you have to be in a militia.
And I look at it and say, well, it says because a militia is important, the people have the right to keep and bear arms, because that's what it says in English. Because punctuation matters.
Well,
It's-
it used to.
It's the
Perhaps
difference between
it doesn't anymore. That's the problem.
it's the
right?
difference between let's eat grandma and let's eat grandma. It's the difference
It's got
between
that punctuation.
helping
though.
your Uncle Jack off a horse and helping your Uncle Jack off a horse. It's the difference.
It's a difference between no, don't stop, and no, don't
Don't stop.
stop.
Between knowing your shit and knowing your shit. Yeah, grammar's important. So along those lines of shit the government is doing, kind of goofy,
Yeah.
did you see the new TSA rules? You know, they used to have those full body scanners.
Yeah.
They changed them now so they show a generic picture of a human body with highlights where the people need to search instead of showing your actual body,
Okay.
so that nobody can
Yeah,
see.
check
I
my
don't get to
tiny
look at my
package.
wiener
Yeah,
anymore.
Nancy Wiener pics.
Damn, I used to
those
enjoy
titties.
those pictures.
But and you used to be able to refuse those,
The scan.
the scan, to do a
The
more
pat down.
thorough pat down and search.
Yeah.
But the TSA just signed, not signed, but issued a new law,
Something. Whatever the fuck they
because
do.
that's what they do, that says while passengers can still refuse, TSA officials, because of security concerns, can make the scan mandatory for, and I quote, some passengers, based on security concerns and needs.
A random screen.
I even pulled up their actual release, the rules the TSA sent out to, or the Department of Homeland Security sent out to their people.
I don't really care.
Well, let's see.
The
Yeah,
thing is,
I
some
don't, I don't
I've
fly enough.
flown so much that I've gone through those
Yeah.
things so many times, and I have to get wanded every time. Well, now the new ones are better because they actually can tell the difference between an artificial joint and
Oh.
a gun.
Which is
The
nice.
old ones couldn't. They'd be
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
beep, beep, beep.
It's in
And
my
I'd be like, already I'd have my arms up. And they're like, what? My hip. It's right there.
Yep.
Right there. Go ahead. Wand it. Boop, 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 boop. Yep. Again. That's it. So you can dig all you want, but it'll hurt.
Can they
Okay.
tell the difference between an artificial joint and a rolled joint?
I don't know.
Oh!
But it says,
Well,
while,
they have
pass-
chem sniffers on those things too.
Oh yeah.
while passengers
they're
may
always
generally
coming up with new
decline
shit.
AIT screening in favor of physical screening,
I don't know if they
TSA
do
may
drugs.
direct mandatory
I've
AI
only
screening
traveled
for some
Greyhound.
passengers.
Okay.
That's officially what it says.
Yeah.
Some
I'm
passengers
sure that was
is
their
a bit
rules
vague.
before.
No, no.
Scan everybody once in a while, and sometimes scan some people more often than others. That was probably the rules before.
Well, but you could decline. Now they can, even if you decline, they can make you go through the scan.
Okay.
The some passengers I find kind of vague.
Well, it's supposed to be vague.
Right, but I
wonder
mean,
why.
in this political climate, I wonder which some is going to get picked.
Fat guys. Right here.
Is it?
You don't know where I could hide
Exactly.
something. I'm just saying.
I have nowhere to hide anything. You will tell.
I went in with.
Wait,
the
can't you hold the
jacket
gun
on.
under there? You know where that
What,
belly
a
starts.
remote or something?
Yeah.
Isn't that where you found the
I
remote
put a
last
Baldur's
time?
Gate. I know where to hide a gerbil.
I
The
don't-
Baldur's Gate
Terrible
2
game.
specifically.
I don't fly enough to care about TSA shit.
I've never flown. Never been
I
on
just
a
think
plane.
I think it's ominous in this particular climate.
Sure they passed something exactly like that after 9/11.
I'm sure they did too, and we all went, that's racial profiling.
Yeah. And then we go, meh.
If you liked that video, watch our last one.
That's a shame.
It allows
my porn safe?
Depends on what kind of porn you have.
Yeah,
Well,
true.
well,
I've been
because
watching
I
all the
just-
weird stuff,
I
so.
just realized this yesterday.
Or watch this one.
You know, I've heard a lot of people say that it's, you know, it's tradition to say Merry Christmas. In fact, one of the ladies Nikki's worked with says it's tradition. It's Merry Christmas. So maybe in her family, true.